The boy arrived before anyone else, carrying an instrument case that looked too big for his narrow shoulders. The security guard barely glanced at him, assuming he was someone's child waiting for a parent. The boy didn't correct him. He found a chair near the back of the empty hall and sat quietly, feet swinging above the floor, hands resting on the worn black case as if it were breathing. The hall smelled of dust and polish, of years of applause trapped in velvet curtains. Somewhere above the stage, a single light hummed. He opened the case slowly, with the care of someone waking a sleeping animal. Inside lay the instrument, polished but scarred, its surface marked by scratches that told stories no one else could read. He ran his fingers along it, not to warm up, not to practice, but to remember. Each mark had a memory. A cracked corner from the day he dropped it while running to catch a bus. A faded patch where his thumb always rested, worn smooth by hours that turned into years. The boy's name was Eli, though almost no one in the city knew it yet. He had learned early that names mattered less than sound. Sound was honest. Sound didn't ask where you came from or how old you were. Sound didn't care that your shoes were secondhand or that your hands were too small. Sound only cared about truth. Eli had found the instrument in a place where music didn't belong. It was leaning against a wall in a repair shop where his mother worked long hours for little pay. The shop owner had planned to throw it away, assuming it was broken beyond value. Eli had touched it once and felt something tighten in his chest, like a string being pulled. He didn't know how to play. He didn't even know what kind of instrument it was at first. But when he asked if he could take it home, the shop owner laughed and waved him off, telling him to take the useless thing. At home, Eli cleaned it carefully, watching videos on a cracked phone, teaching himself what each part did, how it should sound. The first notes were awful, sharp and wrong, enough to make neighbors complain through thin walls. His mother apologized to them, and then sat beside Eli, listening anyway, nodding as if she could already hear what he would become. She never told him to stop. Eli practiced when the city slept and when it woke. He practiced when his fingers bled and when they healed thicker. He practiced in the heat, sweat dripping onto the instrument, and in the cold, breath fogging the air. He practiced not because he wanted applause, but because silence felt heavier when he didn't play. Music filled the spaces where other children's lives had gone, the places where toys and games might have been. Music was his language, his hiding place, his way forward. The day of the audition arrived quietly, without fanfare. Eli's mother braided his hair with shaking hands and pressed her forehead to his. She didn't ask if he was nervous. She knew he was, and she knew he would go anyway. She watched him walk away with the case bouncing gently against his back, watched until he disappeared into the crowd. Now, sitting alone in the hall, Eli closed his eyes and took a slow breath. He could hear the echoes of imaginary notes bouncing off the walls. He imagined the audience that would soon fill the seats, the judges who would look at him with polite smiles that hid doubt. He had seen those smiles before. Adults always wore them when they didn't expect much. When his turn came, a stagehand called his number, sounding bored. Eli stood, lifting the instrument with both hands, and walked toward the light. The stage felt enormous, like stepping onto another planet. Rows of empty seats stared back at him, waiting. The judges sat behind a long table, sipping water, flipping papers. One raised an eyebrow at the sight of him, at his age, at the size of the instrument. "Whenever you're ready," one of them said, kindly but without interest. Eli nodded. He didn't speak. He adjusted his stance, feeling the floor through the thin soles of his shoes, grounding himself. He lifted the instrument, placed it just right, and for a moment, the world narrowed to the space between his hands and the strings. The first note fell into the hall like a drop of water into a deep well. It was clear, steady, and impossibly full. The judges looked up. Eli didn't rush. He let the sound breathe, let it stretch and settle. Then he moved, fingers dancing with the confidence that didn't match his age, drawing out melodies that twisted and soared. What came next didn't feel like practice or performance. It felt like confession. The music told stories Eli had never said out loud. It spoke of crowded rooms and quiet nights, of watching other kids run while he stood still, of finding beauty in broken things. His hands moved faster, then slower, pulling emotion from the instrument as if it were alive, responding to him. The hall changed. The air felt thicker, charged. The judges leaned forward, papers forgotten. One of them,